Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. One of the most common questions I receive regarding the carnivore diet is, what do I eat in a regular day? Now, as I've mentioned in previous videos, I'm using carnivore to achieve an optimal balance between my bodybuilding goals and a level of great everyday health and energy. I've been training for 30 years, and for most of my younger days I constantly struggled with poor health despite regular healthy eating and exercise. Eventually my health collapsed and I basically lost my 20s to a 7-year stretch of chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. So for me, feeling great is more important than looking great. But these two goals don't need to be exclusive. You can literally have both with a good diet and training setup, and it doesn't need to be that complicated. Now, I get a little bit confused when I read the forums and I see people say how the carnivore diet isn't working for them, and when they post up the kinds of food they're eating, it often includes large amounts of fruit, honey, maple syrup, with some meat here and there, and they're calling this carnivore. Now, you can for sure experiment with some variations of meat-based eating once you've tried the basics and achieved a level of health and performance that you're happy with, but it seems silly to complain about not getting the full benefits of carnivore when you're not really fully committed to at least running a hard 30 to 40 day reset with a simple minimalistic meat and eggs approach. There's also an unconscious and maybe unintentional self-deception that's common among people who diet. An overwhelming number of studies shows that people unknowingly or unintentionally miscount or misreport their food intake to a large degree. Likewise, you have to be certain that what you're eating is consistent with the carnivore diet, and that the odd birthday office cupcakes, syrup-flavored oat milk Starbucks frappuccinos, or any number of dubiously processed and artificially flavored keto products aren't sneaking their way into your daily menu. This also requires a certain level of self-honesty. As physicist Richard Feynman once famously said, the first principle is that you mustn't fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool. And speaking of fools, I recently ran a 2-month experiment where I loosened things up a little, incorporating fruits and raw honey into my diet on the suggestion of a well-known carnivore advocate. I thought, how could this hurt? These foods are natural and healthy, right? Well, 2 months of fruit and honey and my aches and pains mysteriously returned. I was groggy on waking up, and my energy fluctuations throughout the day were all indicative that inflammation was making a comeback, and I was setting myself up for some future health problems. My partner, who competed in a bodybuilding show last year, joined me on this month of strict carnivore as she was experiencing some truly awful long-term post-competition health effects that just wouldn't go away. We were amazed that after just a few weeks her physical and mental health noticeably transformed. Her crushing lethargy, her gut problems, daily headaches, and coughing and sneezing fits after eating a simple carb meal completely disappeared. So here's an example of the kinds of foods that I eat for the month-long carnivore health reset, with my goals of restoring both my health and feeling great and maintaining decent performance in the gym. So right now I'm training 6 days a week, and before my workout each morning I'll eat 2 tins of sardines 40 minutes before my workout. Now, if you're looking for a portable, easy to prep and eat carnivore friendly snack that ticks so many of the nutritional boxes, you really can't go past sardines. They're high in omega-3 fatty acids, iron, and the all-important sodium for good workout pumps. They're quick and easy to consume, and they come with the added benefit that no one's going to want to talk, let alone approach you in the gym after eating a few servings of these pre-workout. I'm not usually one to use supplements while carnivore dieting, but I've been experimenting with a pump product that contains citrulline, alpha-GPC, tyrosine, and Himalayan pink salt before the gym each morning, and the pumps that are normally harder to achieve on carnivore have been so far excellent. I personally think that stimulant-based pre-workouts are one of the worst things that you can do for bodybuilding, but this supplement includes a good dose of alpha-GPC, which tremendously assists with a nice level of focus minus the stimulant jitters. Now, after training I eat my largest meal of the day, which consists of about 12 whole eggs with 100 grams of salmon cooked in 10 grams of butter. I like to aim for foods higher in fat in the morning, as they kick my brain into gear and provide me with a ton of energy. Eggs are practically the perfect superfood, not only because they're nature's multivitamin in a shell, but eggs also contain one of the richest dietary sources of choline, which is then used to make acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter that plays an important role in memory, mood, and muscle control. Adequate intake of choline is associated with improved cognitive function, including better memory and information processing speed. Eating whole eggs can actually increase testosterone production in men because eggs supply the testes with arachidonic acid, which is an important part of making steroids in the body. And for anyone looking to build muscle, whole eggs can also help by increasing mTOR levels, which is a really important cell signaling complex that tells our muscles to grow. Salmon likewise is packed with protein and has a higher bioavailability than chicken breast, pork, and beef. It's a heart-healthy superfood with a lot of research showing its amazing cardiovascular disease-lowering potential. Likewise, every day I'll pack a lunch to take to work consisting of 1 kilogram of beef mince mixed with organ meats, including hearts, kidneys and liver. Depending on if I'm hungry, I'll dip into this around about 10:30 a.m. and then again at 1 p.m, making sure I finish the whole kilogram of meat. Ground beef is one of those life-saving carnivore staples. Cheaper than most cuts of beef, it's quicker to prepare and eat. I can simply reheat it and eat it within my short break time. Now, eating a combination of ground beef and organs supplies a ton of vitamins and micronutrients and crash-free energy calories to get me through my day. There's no factory farming of beef in Australia, so I can safely go with cheaper bags of mince bought in bulk from the local butchers. Now, we've all probably heard by now that organ meats are among the most nutrient-rich foods on the planet. Best of all, they're cheaper to buy than regular beef, and I'll often mix up the sauces going for lamb, ox, or beef organs for variety. I remember when I first started buying organ meats, I was never game enough to pull the trigger and just eat them. They'd sit in my fridge all week staring at me accusingly every time I opened the fridge door until I ended up feeding them to my dog. But if you're a little bit squeamish to eat organ meats, you can chop them finely and mix them in with the ground beef to mask their taste and texture. Personally, I now love the taste, but it might require some time to acquire that same love for them. By mixing and matching organ meats with other foods, you can vary your diet and ensure that you don't overconsume too much of a good thing. After all my meals, I will try to incorporate some walking to aid in digestion, and I've noticed that adding in some movement after eating just feels good in general. Now, dinner time will always include some variation, so I never get bored with my carnivore menu. Evening meals are that one opportunity I can sit down, relax, and enjoy the social occasion of a shared nighttime meal. Now, Monday nights is usually chicken, and I'll aim for the better tasting, fattier thighs and wings, oven baking them and then finishing them in the air fryer to crisp up the skin. I'll always apply a lot of salt to my meals for taste and flavour. Again, be careful of adding in any extra spices during your initial hard reset on carnivore, because you don't know if these added herbs could be potentially causing you some problems. And we want to keep all the dietary variables to just the staples at this stage. Now, I realise that chicken isn't an ideal choice due to its low nutrient density. You want to aim for mostly ruminant animals on a carnivore diet. But for variation's sake, it's fine every now and again. And in my previous meals for the day, I've already eaten an adequate amount of nutritious meat. But every now and then I'll also include some chicken livers, which is another vitamin and nutrient dense powerhouse. Tuesday evenings will usually include some kangaroo burgers for some cost-effective nutritional patriotism. Kangaroo in Australia is naturally farmed, and since we have to cull 2 million kangaroos per year to control the population, ethically they could be considered a good choice. Kangaroo is a great source of protein, iron and zinc, and they also contain 5 times that of lamb and 3 times that of beef of conjugated linoleic acid. Now, CLA is an important fatty acid with numerous health benefits. Wednesday nights is usually roast pork, and I love the taste of pork. And again, while it's not a ruminant animal, it contains a lot of protein and is more micronutrient dense than chicken. It's also much cheaper than beef, especially when cooking up a large batch in bulk. I love the pork rind finished in the air fryer, and will use it as part of my carnivore breadcrumbs recipe in other meals, or just as a crunchy snack on its own. Thursdays is usually Scotch eggs, and this combines my 2 staple foods, beef and eggs, into a fun and tasty way of eating both. Now, on Fridays, I love to have crumb pork schnitzels. I will buy the cheaper thin slices of pork, soak them in eggs, and top them with the combination of the blended pork crumbs that I prepared from the previous evening, along with some trusted unflavoured pork rinds. I love the taste of these pork schnitzels. I'll fry them in butter and sometimes cook up a huge batch that I can take them to work, as they taste great even when they're not reheated. Now, on Saturdays we might have something more elaborate like carnivore pizza, and this is a little bit more time consuming to prepare, but I'll blend up the chicken thighs to make a pizza base and then load it with a variety of meats and seafood. It keeps well in the fridge for a few days, and it can be reheated or eaten as an on-the-go snack. Now, on Sundays I try to fast until midday, and even then I might only have half the usual amount of eggs and salmon from my previous breakfasts. For dinner I'll have prawns, scallops, squid, basically a seafood combination medley. It's a little bit more decadent and pricey than my previous weekly meals. Oysters pack an anabolic punch containing a ton of vitamins, minerals, and are full of heart-healthy omega-3 acids. The zinc in oysters can increase testosterone and helps maintain optimal dopamine levels as well. I always aim to stop eating around 6:30 p.m, taking into account my bedtime of around 9. Now, after dinner we like to take the dogs for a long walk to the local park in the evening to help that food digest and get in the rest of our daily steps, which we aim for usually between 8 to 10,000 per day. An hour before bed I usually like to take some magnesium, glycine or theanine, and I try to limit my water intake because, as you probably know, on the carnivore diet you're forever heading to the toilet to pee. Now, sleep used to be an issue on the carnivore, but since adopting this routine in the past year, my sleep has been incredible. I like to journal a few sentences highlighting my most story-worthy moments of the day, as per Matthew Dick's excellent book Storyworthy. I read fiction for 30 minutes to an hour while listening to some sleep-inducing binaural beats, followed by a few rounds of deep 4-7-8 breathing to induce a relaxed parasympathetic state. I used to have really bad sleep apnea, requiring a nightly use of a CPAP machine. But I can gladly say it was just another one of those things that the carnivore diet cured. But to ensure that I don't mouth breathe during the night, I apply some tape over my mouth, which I can truly say is an absolute game changer in terms of the effect on the quality of my sleep. I always feel fantastic on waking with this routine, and I bounce out of bed every morning at 3:30 to 4 a.m, ready to attack another amazing day. On my non-workout days, I'll usually skip the sardines and have some eggs as my first meal 4 hours after waking. Now, the prices of this menu might seem expensive, and you could probably find cheaper alternatives depending on which country you're in. But for my bodybuilding goals, I've got a large appetite. This is the predetermined amount of food that I need to sustain my results. We also don't go out to eat too often, and we never get takeaway coffees, so I can justify spending a little bit more on the investment to my health. Now, as you can see, there's no need to complicate this diet. The greatest benefit of the carnivore diet is that it's dietary simplicity and minimalism at its core and essence. Health and fitness are a byproduct of our daily habits, so it's best to make them as easy as possible without agonizing over the details and minutiae that so many of the carnivore channels, gurus, and these support groups will often promote as a profit-extracting means to confuse and mislead people. Carnivore isn't a religion nor a cult. It's a tool in a diet with no codified secrets to unlock. There's no hacks, no complicated supplement stacks, and no confusing food combinations to decipher. So we don't need the equivalent of a dietary priesthood with all the answers to lead us to the promised land of health, if we just keep it simple and apply the same basics every day. But if you do need help setting up a workout and diet plan, and you want some accountability, you can contact me in the links below. Thanks again for watching.